Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Rainbow Crossing Podcast, a podcast where Gen X, Gen Z, and a special guest Millenial have open conversations to foster a sense of community through different perspectives. My name is Julio Guzman. With me is my roommate,
Daniel. And with us
is the ally and the most beautiful woman in my life at the moment, besides my mom and my sisters. So she's right there. Jody!
Hello, I'm so happy to be here.
Hi, Jody. I'm so happy to have you. You are truly one of the best people I have ever met, and you mean a lot to me. And I'm so happy to have you on this podcast because we've been friends for almost 8 years.
A while. Yeah, probably like longest
My
friend
whole adult
here in
life.
Austin.
Yeah, I know.
And honestly, anyone who has been friends with Julio for that long is obviously an amazing person.
1,000%, because if you don't make the cut, I will cut you out and you will be gone. But no, Jody, you truly are just one of the best people I've ever met and a true ally since the day I've met you. And you're also just an amazing person overall. You're a teacher and you help raise a lot of kids, and I hear all of the hard work that you do from you and all your stories. But I want to have this conversation with you because, one, it's Women Appreciation Month. And here we have a woman for the first time ever on our podcast.
Yes.
Oh my God, I'm the first.
The first. You had to
Cherry
be the first.
popped.
Exactly. You're also an ally, a huge ally to anyone that needs any uplifting, because everyone comes to you for a lot of comfort. And I feel like you just radiate this positive energy that people gravitate towards.
I've been fortunate enough to have you in my life as well for the last, I guess, as long as he's been around, 6 years or so.
Yeah, it's been more.
And it always amazes me how different segments of the population know you already and gravitate towards you. And I'm always like, you know Jody? And like it's all of the guys, of course, that we're hanging out with. And everybody loves you.
People in Austin will pass up a gay, but if they pass you, they will stop and be like, oh my God, Jody. And I'm like, how does she know half of the town here? Like, I'm just so confused as to how everyone literally knows Jody here in Austin. But it's just the radiating energy that you have. But we wanted to get started with some questions about you and about your life and who you are and why you're here and what your journey is and what your message is. I know that's a lot to take in.
Yeah, that's a lot.
No pressure.
The meaning of life.
The meaning of life, yes. Let's start off with Women Appreciation Month. Who are some women that have inspired you in your life and career?
I'm going to keep it cheesy with this one. I think my sister and my mom have been the biggest role models in my life. My mom from the beginning, like coming over to the United States from Mexico just to have a better life, set the tone on, you know, me and what I want to achieve and what I want for myself too. And my sister being 5 years older than me, you know, I got to learn from her mistakes, and I got to also learn from the things that she's done really well. And she's a go-getter. Like, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put my mind to it, and it's already mine. You know, there's no doubt. There's no question. It's like, I'm going to do this. And her, like, I have those words in my head whenever I want to try something new.
You also have that power. I hope you know that.
I'm from
like,
those women.
Because there are moments where I'm like, she's not going to do that. And then she goes, well, I'm going to try it. Or if there's something that you like, whether it's a good time out and you're just feeling the vibes, you're like, I'm going to go get what I want.
I've also seen some of the men that she's seen that she said she's going to go get and brings them back.
Yeah.
It's nice. I wish I could pull what you pull, honestly.
You like that power.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is.
It's the Gemini air sign.
Yeah.
It's the
one of the
flowing,
twins
the
in me is going to
flirtation.
get him. Yeah.
Exactly. But meeting your mom and your sister, she was just very welcoming of every single person that you brought into the house who's met her. And she's also just been an ally as well. And I want to know where all that comes from. Like, what is your first gay experience, and when did you realize, oh, we're all just people. We can all just love each other and support one another, because a lot of people aren't like that.
No, especially like I grew up in Oklahoma, so we use the words you shouldn't use for all of the things that are canceled now, as they should be. I think my mom and my dad, even though they're super different, they have always been like, you have to love everybody, you know, like regardless. And like my dad did his fair share of talking badly about the races and, you know, just very Oklahoman.
A lot of people
have, yeah.
Be talking like that.
But in his core, like, he would always give money. Like, we would go to Mexico, he would make sure that, like, some people we visited that were not family always got a visit. He would like my mom would train me whenever I got birthday presents in Mexico, like make sure that each one of them is like the best thing you've ever received because you want them, like all these small things are just like ingrained in me. My dad would drop me off every day at school and like the words like do good, be good. And then he would ask me like how I showed that day.
I would have never asked those questions or have gotten those questions asked as a kid. But if I did, I'd probably be more optimistic and loving as you. Not that I'm not at the moment, but like you're just on a whole different level when it comes to nurturing and caring and making people feel good, which is powerful. As a woman in education, do you feel that your contributions are valued the same way as your male counterparts?
I do think that they are valued the same. And honestly, I feel like it's probably one of the few professions where women, they're wanted more. Because parents, when they drop their kids off at school, they want to know that their kids are taken care of emotionally more so than, you know, like academics. Their belief is that women are going to cater to those needs. And so, I don't see that women are less valued as men. If so, honestly,
Equal
men
or
are
more.
Equal or more. Yes, yeah.
Dope. That's nice to hear, especially when it comes to being a teacher, because
Right.
I know y'all are not treated well, period. Well,
Period, yeah.
I feel like the school might treat y'all well. It's the rules and what are y'all getting paid based off of like government and salary that's shit.
Yes.
Which is annoying because honestly, teachers deserve the whole world.
Yeah.
They're shaping your children. They're shaping your kids to be better than what you were, honestly.
Yeah. On top of being educators, we are therapists, we are doctors, we're lice checkers. Like, it is so many things. And
nurses,
then at
your
3,
security guards,
security
your everything.
guards. We'll get into that one in a minute. But yeah, and then at 3:10, like the job's not over. Now it's time to plan something that they're going to be engaged for, that cater to the students that don't pay attention, to make it engaging for them, to make it engaging for the ADHD and, you know, all of the above.
Being friends with an actual teacher, the things you go through from the beginning of the day to the end of the day, working nonstop, even after you leave school, you're just planning and doing more work over and over. I'm like, this girl deserves all the money in the world, plus some.
Plus some, yeah.
Exactly.
You're not just taking work home, you're kind of taking the students home too in your mindset. Because it's not just, I've got to plan next week's lessons or however far in advance you do that, but it's like, how am I getting the message across to this student who has a learning disability, or this student who is so smart they're not absorbing anything I'm saying. And so I'm sure you're taking home almost all of your students with you in your mind and planning accordingly. So not just one lesson, you're planning probably a dozen different lessons in your head on the same subject matter, I would imagine.
It is exactly that. And on top of that, like, then you take everything that you've spent all afternoon outside of school planning for and go in the day, and now you're delivering it while you're also paying attention to, like, there's 3 kids that have changed their medications, and you got to let their parents know how their medications are being, like, throughout the day. So, like, while you are trying to get them calm and to listen, you're also paying attention to, oh, let me reflect back on student number 8. Did they eat enough that day? Did they, all these other things. And it is a lot.
You must make 6 figures at least.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, thought so.
I deserve a little raise, but yeah, I'm okay with the 6 figures.
That's sarcasm for the people that are literal.
Yeah.
Listening. She does not make 6 figures. I don't think any teacher makes 6 figures. They should, at the minimum, make 6 figures.
Yeah.
For the hours.
Do you feel like a lot of teachers get into this and then they're like, I'm out, this is too much, I can't handle it?
From my 7 years of teaching, at least 6 or 7 teachers leave every year.
Wow.
Some of them transfer, but still, like, some of them completely are like, this is not for me anymore.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I've noticed that a lot too. I mean, we've had some other friends that are teachers that are like, get out of it because it's just a lot to handle.
Exactly.
And then we have star pupils like you who just thug it out and hope for the best for everyone.
Yeah.
It's because you have a big heart. You just care. You care so deeply about everyone that crosses your life and that is a part of your life. And it's just a blessing to have a teacher like you, in my opinion.
It's like I foster them. Like I adopt them as my own. And like throughout that year, like they are mine.
And from what I noticed, when they leave, they still be loving you and missing you and wanting to come back.
Yes.
They're like, oh my God, you're the best.
Sorry.
No, go for it.
What age exactly are we talking about?
I've taught 3rd grade, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, right?
Okay.
I started in 2nd, and now I'm back in 2nd right now.
Gotcha.
So they're like 7, 8, 9.
Okay. So some of the first students you taught are in high school now.
There's one student in 2nd grade. She's in 8th grade, But I've kept up with her for a long time, and I text her through her parents' phone. And, you know, like she'll still tell me about same drama with the kids that have stayed. And one time I hadn't heard from her in like over a year, and all she said was, she's doing it again. And I already knew. I already knew which girl it was. I was like, tell me about it.
What is some advice that you would give those teachers getting into teaching?
I would recommend that they have a really strong work-life balance. It's impossible to have a perfect work-life balance as a teacher, but as long as they are able to prioritize, I guess, what it's like due tomorrow, because the list with teaching is never ending. Like your to-do list is never ending. So as long as they focus on, you know, what's to do. And also just if you have a passion for working with children and being patient, I think that they're going to do fine, because that's what I have. Like I love working with children. It's tough and it's going to change every year, and this is my 7th year, and every year has felt like a brand new year. So don't think that just because you got through the first one, the second one's going to be a breeze. Like I learn things from the kids now that I did not know my first year, and I wish I knew, but they're so different. Like every single one of them are so unique, and so there's no way to have known what I know now.
And even if they present the same challenges, it comes in a different package.
Yes.
So it's not like you can apply the same technique necessarily to this student who has the same kind of issue that the student last year had, because that's a different person altogether.
Yes.
So you're relearning how to deal with the students' problems every year, I would imagine.
Yes.
Yeah.
Last year was the year where I was like, I'm giving it everything I have in my little booklet of ideas, and like nothing was working with like a handful of kids. And that was probably the most stressful. It was like, how do I not know how to deal with these kiddos? But I just learned more patience. And now I'm a different teacher.
And I'm sure by the end of the year, you get through it and you're like, okay, at least that chapter's done. Moving on to the next one, because that one was a journey.
You would think, like last year was my hardest year, and everyone was like, you know, like it's almost there, it's almost there. I think we had trauma bonded as a class. That was my hardest goodbye I've ever had.
Aww.
I went home that day and I cried. Like I was just like laying on the couch, and it was like tears were just coming and I couldn't stop. It was like my foster kids are taken from me. It felt like that after all the work that I had put in. Yeah. You would think I would be like done, but no.
You do care deeply.
Yeah.
But I'm sure the teachers appreciate you. The next teacher that gets them, you've definitely whooped them into better shape than where you got them.
Yes, we see them and I'm like, oh wow, look at y'all. Y'all can walk in the line now. Funny.
It only took us 365 days.
Yeah. We say it to them though, and they're like, stop.
I'm sure. Well, moving on to the community, I want to know a little bit about like your experience with gay people and anyone that's part of the community. What has it been like to be an ally for you?
When I moved to Texas, there was one person, like one gay person, and then, you know, a few more gay people around me in college. And, you know, I vibed with them. They were friendly. There was no feeling that I was like, oh, gay people are cool. Like it was just neutral, you know? Mm-hmm. And then I moved to Texas State and I started becoming friends with more and more. And I just realized that like the fun that I like to have in my life, where like I'm always laughing, I'm always ready for something, some sort of experience, and those are the gays. And I'm like, okay, these are my people. maybe I'm like the ugly duckling and I don't really belong, or the Wild Robot movie.
Girl,
no. But I feel like I belong, you know, like this is the happiness that I need in my life. And yeah, I've always been friends with boys. And, you know, that obviously got me in some issues with girls in high school. And I finally found my where I can have the balance of both.
Definitely.
They're my girls, but they're also my guys.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you ever feel like overwhelmed when all the gays come at you with multiple different problems, specifically if you are already stressed?
Circling back to when you said, like, everyone, like, passing through will say hello to me, because I have been a therapist at the bars for every single person that I know, at least once. And I'm a good one.
You are.
I'm a good one. And I think that's where the initial connection and like love came. But yeah, this last fall, I feel like I had a lot of family things that were weighing on me, and I didn't have the bandwidth to support like other issues, and I really had to start saying like I don't have the space for this right now. Like I wish I could, but like I am on the verge of a mental breakdown.
You were extremely busy with a lot of different things going on at once. It's hard to put the pressure on that our allies. Like, are you going to support us? We're going through a lot right now, and everyone's like holding a gun to your ally's face and being like, are you on my team or are you not?
Yeah.
But you've always
I'm a teacher. I got my own stuff.
Yeah. Basically, I mean, they're basically asking our teachers to get strapped up
Yeah.
with Glocks
Yes.
in Texas to protect the classroom instead of controlling gun regulations. They're just like, why don't we just give the teachers guns? Have they talked about that with y'all?
There was one day, actually, it was a day where the kids don't go to school and we have professional development. And it was probably one of my hardest days through everything this election.
This was recent.
Yeah, we didn't have our legal agenda yet, and I walked in thinking we were going to learn how to, improve our math instruction or, something beneficial to education. But the presentation was what we were supposed to do in the protocol if ICE were to come into the school. And what we would do, what happens if they come for a specific student in your class, like what can you do legally and what can you not do legally. And I think the hardest part was thinking about the things like what happens when one of your students doesn't get picked up from school that day, because they don't have anyone coming. Who can legally take that child? And the theme, like all the teachers were like, can we sign up already to be like their emergency contacts? But there's no way for us to know who is and isn't legal.
Right.
On top of having like multiple drills and lockdowns and kids wondering like what like we don't just do the lockdown and jump right back into teaching. Like some of them are not okay.
Yeah.
Some of them cry with just the fire alarm. Some of them wonder, what do you mean like someone's in the building? It's like, no, if they're not okay, like, oh, if. No, they're like, well, who would come in? They want to know. Like, is it an animal? Is it a person? Like, why is someone coming in the school?
That's so traumatizing
It's a
for
lot.
anyone.
Just the reality is so different from when I was a kid. We had tornado drills. That was the extent of the drills that we had, and maybe once or twice a year. And, kids have to deal with the reality of gun violence and the lockdowns. And now at least a certain segment of the population has to worry about ICE raids. So they have all of these very real world problems that a child should not have to worry about. Julio and I were just talking earlier about how, like, up until I was a teenager, really, like, I was very sheltered. I lived in a little bubble of innocence. Like, I didn't know what the world was about. And these kids have the real world thrust upon them at these young ages of 6, 7, and 8. So no one deserves it at that age. Like you can't even be a kid. So I can only imagine you wanting to lift some of that weight off of them. You have this responsibility of real world problems thrust upon you times however many children you have in your classroom. So you've got your own issues, and then you've got 20, 30 times the issues from these kids who have real world problems, but they don't know how to handle those problems. They don't have the emotional, the mental capacity to even understand what the problems are, but they understand there is a weight to them. So I can only imagine as a teacher overseeing all of this, whose primary duty is just to teach these kids on math and geography and English, et cetera, Spanish, how you handle that weight.
It's a lot. After the election, like going into teaching the very next day, it was like our principal sent such a heartwarming message to just like take the space that like if you need a break too. But it's like going in the next day, like we haven't even had time to process either. The kids are coming to school, or like after the ICE thing started, it was just like they're going to come to school carrying their weight of what they might think is going on, but also the weight of their parents and like the fears that they're hearing. And you just never know too. Like you think you might know what's going on in their little lives, but there's just no way to know how they might react and how they might play, and like how that like leaks into their behaviors.
Of course.
So I know you're in a place where you might feel supported at school at least, but not every school seems to have the same vibe. Has there ever been any like harassment over LGBTQ community in regards to either saying something that's mean to another person based off of how they look or how they feel or how they're dressed, that you might experience at schools?
And or do you have, I mean, it's a young age. Do you have students come to you and say, I think I'm gay or trans or any of that?
We have a few trans students at my school, and I've had a non-binary student as well that said that they wanted to be known throughout the year as they, them. So we had a conversation with the class about, this is how they want to be addressed. It's okay if we make mistakes. We've known this student last year, and they were referred to as she, but now, as long as you're trying your best, as like myself too. I was like, I said I'm going to make mistakes too, but as long as I correct it and respect what your needs are. But as far as any like targeting towards those students, no. If anything, like some of the students will say like someone will come to me and say like he said something mean, and I'll go say, what'd you say? Like he said I'm gay, and then we'll talk with both. It's like, well, what about that is mean? Do you not like that he's saying something untrue? And it's like, okay, well now what about gay makes you upset? And then like we'll kind of like talk about how there's nothing wrong with that. Like some people have two parents or two dads, some people have two moms. Yeah. We'll go through those conversations, but they're not very serious yet. But they're not like,
kids are just curious.
They're curious.
They just want to know like what's up.
And they hear on YouTube videos like, oh, it's so gay, or like you're gay.
For sure. So they'll just say something based off of what they hear, and they think it's funny or cool, and it's really not the tea. How do you think schools can do better when it comes to creating a safe space for LGBTQ people? Do you have like any pointers?
I would love to see more diversity and like culture. Just like if they're going to give us resources on all these other areas, it would be a really nice way to save time for all the teachers. If we had like daily questions that go along with the month or the cultures, celebrations, holidays, anything like that would be really cool.
Yeah.
It would just save us a lot of time because we already do it. And thank goodness, like our school gives us the freedom to do that. But it would be nice to come from the district.
For sure. Yeah. If like the district was establishing this, like y'all have to talk about Women's Appreciation Month and the things that matter to everyone in regards to their different communities. What sucks that sounds like it's getting further and further away with DI getting stripped.
Bans
and the book bans and trying to dismantle the Department of Education. It's crazy. They really be like expecting the most from people like you and giving y'all nothing.
I would imagine, us being in Texas, that your classrooms currently, maybe in the past, have been pretty diverse, other than just white kids.
Yes. So I'm a bilingual teacher, so I teach them in Spanish and I also teach them in English. And at some schools, their home language is predominantly English, and so they're learning more Spanish. And at other schools, their home language is predominantly Spanish, so then I'm teaching them more of the English.
Does everyone at your school have a Spanish class, or are you considered like a Spanish teacher, or you just have kids and you're teaching them both Spanish and English just because that's what they signed up for?
So our school is a dual language school. We teach them in English and Spanish. So math and English and social studies are in English. And English would be reading and writing. And then Spanish, we have science and then reading and writing in Spanish.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
So in second grade, it's like a 50-50.
That's lovely. And I wish more schools did offer that for their students, because that's honestly working the child's mind even more deeply in regards to having a successful future. Because not only are you learning English, but you're also challenging yourself to learn a completely different language, which is beautiful. So thank you for that.
I imagine they pick up on it relatively easy. At that age, they're just sponges. And
Yeah. You'd be surprised. Yeah, they really do.
Okay, I know we've touched base on this, but being a teacher, what are other things that you would basically call yourself and that are under the job title basically due to this political climate that we're in? Like that you might have to be now a security guard.
Security guard.
A nurse.
A therapist.
Nurse.
It's so many. There's more.
I'm sure you're also a parenting partner to a degree.
Yeah.
Maybe with some students more than others.
For sure, yes.
I mean, to some of them, you're probably even close to a parent, depending on like what the kid's at-home situation is like. Like maybe their parent is working all the time. You just signed up to teach And here you are having to do so much more than that.
Yeah. Which teaching in and of itself is perhaps the biggest, greatest responsibility anyone could have. So you're already saddled with this enormous responsibility. I mean, you're shaping minds, and now you have to take on all these other responsibilities.
Yes. Like I would like obviously teaching is just like the academic part is one, but also the issues that they have on the playground, like teaching them how to problem solve on their own, how to communicate when they are problem solving. It's like, you could just let it go, but like, let's talk about how to let it go. Like, hey, you did this, I'm okay with it. Or, hey, you did this and it bothered me. Like talking about it and modeling how to talk. Like there's just never enough time in the day for all these little things that go on.
Have you had to deal with any like immigration things, whether it's ICE showing up or students coming into the classroom feeling very like uncomfortable?
There was attendance rate dropped from a lot of students, and it's really sad because if they are coming from other countries, you know, their education's different and they're already statistically lower because of the difference in education. And so it's just really hard that they're the ones that need the education the most, but this is causing them to not. The families just don't want to send the kids to school because it's unsafe.
Yeah.
So there's been a lot of that. I think it's gotten better, but
at one point in time, schools were kind of exempt from ICE raids, right?
Yes.
So they weren't allowed churches, hospitals, and schools. And it's really a shame because no matter where anyone falls on the immigration issue, and I think a lot of people understand that some reform needs to happen. But at the end of the day, we're talking about children here. They made no decision to cross any border, legally, illegally, or otherwise. And I don't understand this lack of empathy for these little humans who don't know anything about anything, and their whole world has the potential to get turned upside down. It should break everyone's heart. The idea that a child particularly could just get removed from their classroom, from anything that they know, by a stranger, and especially sent to a place that they don't know anything about. And a lot of times away from their parents, perhaps even. So it's a huge emotional burden, and something that you're witnessing firsthand.
I want to know how you handle your emotions and navigate through the stressful, busy life and chaos that you have when it comes to all the random things happening in school and taking it day by day.
Just taking a break from social media has been, I didn't take like a full break. It's just if I start seeing stories that I can start feeling like, you know, usually I come home from school and I'm like, I need my me time, I need to disconnect, decompress, and that's just a little funny reels and stuff. But if I start watching people's stories that are posting a lot of political posts, it doesn't do what I needed it to do for that decompress. Like, it is not resetting me, and so I need to like put it to the side, and maybe I can watch it later, but right after school, like I need that time to just disconnect. And it's a lot. Some days are worse than others, and as a woman, in my times of the month, sometimes are harder than others to let go of what's been going on at school, and it weighs on me a lot. So that week I might be antisocial and not really talk to anyone that week. But as soon as Friday hits, like I definitely need like some sort of friend hangout to re-spark that.
Yeah, teachers are the people that are directly impacted from everything. Like, you are experiencing a bunch of different kids who are experiencing different things. So you might not be experiencing something personally, or we might not be experiencing something personally, but you're going to be involved in all of it, which is crazy that I think about that, because like gun control, it affects you. Immigration status, it affects you. Like, other people one thing might affect them, but like all those things are presented to your life. So I can understand why you have to just disconnect completely, because you are.
And now they're coming right for education. It's like we're not just skipping around anymore.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, I think it's important for people to remember, because a lot of people put so much weight on teachers, and then they're continuing to be like, well, you know, you can't take a break. But if you don't take care of yourself first, you won't have any capacity to take care of anyone else. So disengaging, because you're a very engaged person, but everybody needs to disengage from all of the madness that's happening right now. So
Yes.
I'm glad to hear that you are doing that. And it's important for anyone in our audience, because right now we are so inundated with all of these news stories, and every day it feels like there's a dozen new things that are happening that we should be, at a minimum, rolling our eyes, and at worst case scenario, probably crying ourselves to sleep at night. And so it's still there. You're not ignoring it, but you are taking time for yourself, which is important because a lot of other people rely on you.
One last deep question when it comes to teaching and like how fucked up everything is. What is one thing that you would change about the education system if you had the power to do so, besides getting paid way more?
I think going back to just having more support with teaching more diversity and letting the children experience more cultures. I feel like as I got older, I think learning so much about different countries and the urge to travel and just know like the space that I am capable of going to, like they should be able to know about all the cultures too. If there's a holiday coming up, I would like it to be like these are the people, these are the countries that celebrate it. This is the food that they eat, and this is how you pronounce it. Like things that it's not just like tamales, it's tamales, and we practice the right way to say it. It's like, no, that person's name is not Julio, it's Julio. And you say it like that, no matter what you think.
If you're listening out there, education system, take some notes, because this girl actually knows what she's doing, is what it sounds like. A couple lighthearted questions, right?
Yeah, it's not all gloom and doom at school. I'm sure the kids are hilarious at times.
Yes. They get me quite a few times. Right now they're on this, they're so innocent. Right now they're on this, like, trying to get me to twerk. And I'm like, no. And I don't tell them, like, that's inappropriate. But I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. And they're like, it's really easy. And then they'll start doing it. And they look like Tina Belcher. And then someone was doing it, it's like, you're moving your back too much. You got to keep it still. It's just the bottom. Look, watch my hips. Oh my God.
Not the kiddos trying to teach you how to twerk.
No, yeah. No, but this one funny story. This student was like, I don't know why. They just randomly tell stuff. He's like, yeah, me and my sister were in the tub. And we were, I said, hey, look. And she looked at me. And I forgot what I was going to say, so I had to act quick. So I just, like, pointed my penis up to my mouth. I started peeing, and I peed in my mouth. And I was like...
Oh, my God.
In my head, I'm like, why did we even start this story?
But also, like, the kid just openly tells you that all the way through, full confident.
Openly says penis, too. Just, like...
Was this, like, just to you or, like, to just everybody?
It was at recess. It was, like, to me and my other, like, another teacher in my grade level, and then a couple of his friends that were there.
And y'all just stuck their stun.
My coworker was like, that's your student. And I was like, I'm sorry, these are not the conversations we have.
Kids are the funniest and goofiest people ever.
Do they have any slang? Like, I feel like in middle school, they're really picking up on all of the... I don't even know, the skibbity toilet type things.
Skibbity toilet was a big thing.
Are you,
What is skibbity toilet?
Come on, get in with the times, Julio.
I don't even know. I just know that they say it.
Skibbity toilet.
Skibbity toilet.
Is it, so is there a term?
Is that like dropping a deuce?
No. I don't know what it means, actually.
I don't think any of us know what it means.
I don't think they do either.
No.
They do like the mew where it's like, I don't even know how to do it. What? It's like showing their jawline. I don't know how to do it.
I have no idea.
I don't want to do it. I feel like that's not how you do it. But yeah, they pick up on it, but they don't do it right in second grade.
I feel like you're also probably like teaching them.
Oh, you know what they do? What? They're like, and they're like moaning, but they don't call it moan. Like I was like, guys, please don't make those noises. And someone was like, what noises? And someone else was like, the baby noises. And I was like, yeah, the baby noises. Don't do that.
Right. Baby noises. Yes.
Yeah. But I'm like, where are they getting that?
Crazy.
I'm guessing older siblings probably have some impact on these
maybe
impressionable minds.
I feel like you're also probably teaching them slang. Like, in like Renee Carson's like slay or like things like that. I'm sure they also pick that up on their own. But
first day of school, I was like calling them all sis. And some of the boys are like, I'm not a girl, or like, I'm not your sister. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm not your bro either. And
I was going to say
that. So
yeah.
Uno reverse.
Shut them up real quick.
I was gonna say let's normalize flipping the gender pronouns back on boys. Yeah.
And now they're all okay with it.
Good.
Every now and then they'll be like, I'm not your sister. And I'm like, yeah, but you're my sis.
Two different things.
Yeah.
Okay. If you weren't a teacher, what do you think you'd be doing?
I think about this all the time. I have no idea. Like, I'm so glad that I love it, because if I didn't, I really don't know what I would be doing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes your calling is your calling.
Yeah.
And I think you're living to it, which is even more beautiful.
Yeah.
You're like, anything else, don't know her.
Don't know her.
This is it. You're living it. I just want to say thank you for coming, and I appreciate you.
This was so fun.
Good.
Yeah,
I'm glad
I
you
love
enjoyed
this.
it. Maybe we can have you back again at some point throughout the future. But I do want to shout you out real quick. You also have your side.
Oh my gosh.
Your
Yes.
side business, if you want to shout it out.
My side hustle. Yes. My field days. Being a teacher, I loved field days. And I actually never had a field day in my, youth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like 3-legged races.
I never had any of that. Okay. I mean, we barely had 2 sports in Oklahoma. And then I had one when I moved to Texas my senior year of high school. And that was like, oh my God, this is so fun.
Yeah.
But so I've always loved the idea of field days. And I wanted to do an adult version. And so I started a business, JoJo's Field Day. And so if you ever want to host a field day,
this is your girl.
let me know. Yeah.
JoJo's Field Day on Instagram. And also, since we know how teachers have been going through it and they don't have enough support, if you want to put out your Venmo, anybody who is willing to donate money to this woman to help out with her school and anything that she needs, because we all know that she's understaffed in regards to the support, please send her some money. She needs it. Right?
Yeah.
There we go. Help the kids. Do you want to shout out your Venmo?
Jody Alexandra 3. Thank y'all.
I hope you spell it right.
Sweet. With the Y, Jody with the Y.
Yes, Jody with a Y. But yes, you got her field day. You got her Venmo. Is that it?
That's it.
That is it for today's episode.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for coming, Jody.
Yeah.
Thank you guys.
I love you.
I love you
Deeply.
all.
I don't know if he loves you, but I do.
Very
He loves
much.
me. I know he does.
Anyone who's put up with Julio for 8 years, you have to love them.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. But
Yeah. Well, thank you, audience, for tuning in. And please like, comment, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.
bye.